ค่ะขอต้อนรับแขกผู้มีเกียรติทุกท่านนะคะกลับเข้าสู่งานโครงการสัมมนาวิชาการรายวิชาเทคโนโลยีวิทยาการคำนวณอีกครั้งค่ะและในช่วงที่2นี้นะคะแน่นอนว่าหัวข้อบรรยายของเราเนี่ยจัดหนักจัดเต็มและเข้มข้นขึ้นแน่นอนค่ะทุกท่านเตรียมตัวกันไว้ดีๆนะคะค่ะสำหรับในส่วนบูธด้านนอกของเรานะคะมีให้เยี่ยมชมได้ถึงบ่าย3:30กันเลยนะคะท่านใดที่ยังไม่ได้ไปเยี่ยมชมต้องขอบอกเลยว่ามีเวลาในการเยี่ยมชมอีกมากค่ะและตอนนี้นะคะเราทุกคนมาเตรียมพร้อมกันกับหัวข้อบรรยายต่อไปกันดีกว่าค่ะดิฉันเชื่อว่าแขกผู้มีเกียรติหลายๆท่านนะคะตั้งตารอคอยพบกับวิทยากรท่านนี้อยู่อย่างแน่นอนค่ะเพราะท่านเป็นหัวหอกสำคัญทางด้านวิชาคำนวณจากประเทศสหรัฐอเมริกาค่ะพอจะเดากันได้แล้วใช่ไหมคะว่าท่านเป็นใครและในวันนี้นะคะท่านจะมาบรรยายในหัวข้อแนวคิดเชิงคำนวณ computational thinking ทักษะพื้นฐานที่จำเป็นแห่งศตวรรษที่ 21 ค่ะขอกราบเรียนเชิญ Miss Alice Stengler President Code.org ขึ้นมาให้ความรู้กับเราด้านบนเวทีค่ะเรียนเชิญค่ะ Next the opening speech from our partner this year will go under the topic computational thinking essential skill for 21st centuries. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming the president from Code.org, Miss Alice Stengler.
Thank you. Today, I want to talk to you about two problems that we need to solve in America, in Thailand, and around the world. The first of these is opportunity in a time of automation. With jobs changing, with the world changing, how do we prepare our children for the world that they will live in? The second is about equity in the digital workforce. How do we make sure that that workforce includes women and men, includes students who grew up in rural areas, in poor areas, in rich areas, and includes people from around the world? I want to start by talking about opportunity. In America today, we have over 3 million people working as cashiers. We have over 3 million truck drivers. We have people, about 3 million, who are working in labor industries. And food workers, about 3 million food workers. This is something we see around the world. And a question when you look at all of these jobs is, what will these jobs look like when our students are graduating? And not just graduating, in 30 years, in 2030, in 2040, what will happen to these jobs? Well, we don't need to wait till 2040 to see what will happen to the impact on our workforce. If we look at the jobs today, at the workforce today, and we ask where it's going, Forrester thinks that in 8 years, 16% of our jobs will be automated, replaced by robots. PricewaterhouseCoopers estimates that in 15 years, 38% of our jobs will be automated. And McKinsey estimates that between 45 and 58% of the current workforce will be automated. Now, when we talk about automation, a lot of times we think about factories. But this goes way beyond factories. And it is not just about replacing jobs with computers. Many of the jobs that exist today will become augmented or work with computers to change the nature of the type of work that our workforce is doing. Let's take looking at scans in a doctor's office as one example. So today, to see if you have, say, pneumonia, a doctor will look at 2 scans and say, here's a healthy scan and an unhealthy scan. Which one has pneumonia? At IBM, the researchers took a set of 1 million scans and fed them into a computer. In 1 month, that computer could do a better job predicting which scan had pneumonia than the humans used to be able to do. And this is a highly skilled job in doctors' offices today. And it's not just about looking at scans or that kind of work. It may also be about diagnosing disease. This is Joshua Osborne. He's a boy in America. One day he had headaches, so they went to the doctor. Shortly thereafter, he fell into a coma. They spent a month trying to diagnose what could be wrong with him. They sent away blood samples and other samples to lab after lab after lab, trying to understand it. They spent over $1 million trying to understand what was wrong with him. He was on the brink of death. And then a lab that is doing new work with computer programming got involved, the MIC here. And what they did was they took the blood samples and they were able to run them with computer code through a sequencer that looked at all of the DNA that was present in him, both the human DNA and all of the other DNA. What bacteria were in his blood sample? And by sequencing all of that, they were able to process thousands and thousands and millions of different samples. And in just 2 hours, they were able to determine what bacteria was making him sick. Ironically, it turned out that penicillin was able to support him, and he's back up and going today. We also see it in fields that are, traditionally, far from computers. So this is agriculture. This is a lettuce bot. And what it does is it scans over the ground, and it takes microscopic pictures not microscopic. It takes photos of the lettuce that is growing. And rather than a human looking at it, what it is able to do with machine learning and pattern recognition is recognize when two sets of lettuce are too close together and automatically weed it out to make the lettuce more efficient. Or let's look at automotives and driving. Driving is one of the largest employers of people around the world. Not just truck driving, it is also driving people places. It is deliveries. Taking things from one place to another is a deeply human activity today. And if we look at it, we have 3 million injuries last year, $33 billion in expenses, 37,000 people who lost their lives. In the next 10 years, 15 years, this is a field that will become safer through automated technology in driving. It is also a place where a lot of jobs that exist today are going to disappear. And what happens to those people? Now, more automation is both scary and it is an opportunity for more productivity. This is not the first time we've seen a change in our workforce. When we look back at the past, when cars came into place, people were scared. What was going to happen to the jobs, to the horses, to the workforce? What we've seen over the last 100 years is opportunity that cars have enabled through transportation of goods, of services. We now have shopping malls and the ability to get things from one place to another, powered by automobiles. With farming in America, if you look back 100 years ago, 50% of Americans worked on farms. 50%. Today, with the rise of technology, 5% of Americans work on farms. We're seeing this change around the world and in one industry after another. And what does that mean for our students? How do we prepare them for a world where they're going to be working with technology in any field that they go into? What are the jobs of the future? This is a $1 trillion question in terms of where our economy is going. What we see is that more and more of these jobs are what I'm going to call digital jobs. And I'm not saying that every child will be a computer scientist. Some of them will go into technology, but many of them will work in what we will call moderately digital jobs. This is where, working in another field, they are working more and more with computers in whatever field they are going into. I see this today in my own organization, a field like marketing. Back 50 years ago, marketing was about writing catchy slogans to convince people to come to your site. Today, my marketing group is looking at big data. They're looking at AdWords and where people are clicking. They're doing A/B tests, and they're trying to understand what's happening in the technology that people are using on the internet. We see the same thing in any field, in tourism, in a hotel, thinking about how technology is used to get supplies, to find tourists to come to the hotel. Technology is becoming part of more and more jobs, and this is something that will increase over time. This is a prediction by the Brookings Institute, and what you see is an increase in the number of highly digital jobs and the number of moderately digital jobs. Another interesting point here is that the salaries for these jobs are greater. This is something that we also see when we look at wages across the industry. Computing is the largest source of income in America. It's the fastest growing source of new income, and the largest source of jobs in terms of how it is growing in wages. Now, a lot of people look at that and they think, oh, that's Silicon Valley. That's not me, that's not where I live. What we see is that most of these jobs are not about Silicon Valley. Even in America, 9 out of 10 of the new computing jobs are across the rest of the country. And 2/3 of them are outside of the tech sector. Who's hiring computer scientists? Nordstrom's, Starbucks, retail, marketing. Everybody is looking to figure out how to embrace this digital economy and looking for people who can make that change for them with computer science. So let's go back to education. What is the role of educators? What is the role of us in all of this to support this change? Now, you may think I'm going to talk about coding. After all, our name is code.org. I'm not. I'm going to talk about a broader field of computing science. And I may also say computer science. In America, we usually call it computer science. Here, computing science. Both of these encompass a much broader field than just coding. Coding is a piece of it, but it is not the whole thing. So what is in computing science? First, computational thinking. How do computers break down problems? How do I learn to work with computers the way they're breaking down problems? Computer programming, which is often called coding. Data science. We all read about big data everywhere. What does that mean, and what does that mean for us? Networking. All of our computers, our systems today are networked and connected to each other around the world. Our students should understand how the internet works and what that means for them. Cybersecurity. This is an increasingly important field for all of our students to understand in the 21st century. Robotics, that's the fun stuff. You get it in all the videos, we always show the robotics. And machine learning. Over time, what we see is that computers are becoming more and more capable of learning and figuring things out, and that's becoming part of how technology works. And our students should learn and understand what is machine learning, and how does that differ from how humans learn, and what can machine learning enable us to accomplish. When we think about what we teach in schools, the foundational pieces of just preparing our students for the world, for years we've taught things like, what is my digestive system? Bones, in America we dissect frogs. I don't know how they teach it in Thailand, but it is important as part of our fundamental education that we learn how the human body works. Not every child will become a doctor. Not every child will become a nurse, but everyone should understand how their body works. So maybe at age 40, I pull something and I go to the doctor and he said, it's your tendon. I don't remember the difference between a tendon and a ligament, but I know basically it's a part of me that connects things. As an educated human in today's world, I should understand that. The same thing when we talk about electricity. Not every child will become an electrician, but they all learn that when I turn on the switch, there's an electrical signal that goes to that light, and that will turn on that light and come back. Or we learn basic elements of mathematics as part of our standard education. In the same way, our students should learn how the technology around them works. Now, often what we do is we teach them how to use technology. We teach them how to type, how to keyboard, how to use something like Microsoft Word, or how to surf the internet. I want to go beyond that. I want to teach our students how to create that technology. The students in Thailand should not just be consumers of technology that is created in other places. The students here should be empowered to create the websites that make sense for them, for their business, for the users in Thailand, or for the users in the rest of the world who can be inspired by what they've created here. They should be able to create the apps. They should be able to create the websites. And when they use those apps and websites, even if they do not go into computer science as their final job, they should understand at a foundational level, how does that website work? What is big data? How does the internet work? The same way that we teach them today, how does my body work? Or how does electricity work? This is the world that they are going to live in. We need to prepare them to understand how that world works. When we talk about the big ideas of computer science, it's a broad set of ideas. We talk about, as you were hearing about earlier, things like abstraction and problem solving, or big data, algorithms. But we also talk about things like creativity. This is an opportunity to let students express themselves in a new medium. We've always taught students how to write, how to create books and stories. Now, they can make those stories come to life with interactive apps. Instead of drawing, I can create digital art that moves and responds to me. The International Society for Technology and Education put together this definition for computational thinking. And I know this is a lot of words on a slide, so I won't read all of them to you, but I wanted to put it up for a moment to talk about and just show how computational thinking is embedded in so many pieces of what we teach to prepare students. They talk about how it's about being able to take a problem, and that problem could be, how do I get a cart across the street safely? That problem could be, how do I buy supplies for my restaurant efficiently and cheaply? How do I make sure that the supplies don't go bad? That problem could be so many different problems. How do I think about that in a computational way? How do I organize it? How do I think about what pieces of data I'm going to need to solve that problem? It's about pattern recognition, recognizing that one problem is similar to another problem that may have already been solved or solved in a different context. It's about generalizing that problem and being able to come up with solutions that will work not just today, but tomorrow and the next day when we have different challenges that are thrown at that problem. These are the core pieces of computational thinking that underlies all of computer science. And it's the part of computational thinking that we should be teaching our students to prepare them, and we can start very young. When we think about computational thinking, it is something you probably are already doing today in other subjects as well. Part of it we teach in science, when we teach students about models that we use to understand rainfall or weather. Part of it we do in mathematics classes, when we teach students about modeling, recognizing patterns, solving problems in mathematics. And computer science is a core piece of this. It fits in with the part we do in math and the part we do in science, to allow the students to apply this to create, using these models and these abstractions and these patterns. This is a class of elementary school students who are using computational thinking to break down problems. Here they are representing the letter G with paper offline. This is not something that we need to do in front of a computer. When we teach computer science at these young ages, we do part of it on a computer and part of it off a computer. And that's actually great. It allows the students to work with each other, to work in groups and collaborate. And it helps them understand how the concepts that they're learning on the computer apply to everyday problems that they do in real life. In America, we have a little dance called the Hokey Pokey. I don't know if do you guys know the Hokey Pokey? A few, okay, this is embarrassing. But we also do many dances. Hokey Pokey's a good one. But this is a fun activity that I love to do with kids, where you take a common dance that they've learned, in our case, the Hokey Pokey. You put your right hand in, you put your right hand out, you put your right hand in, and you shake it all about. Then you get to do it with the other hand, then you do it with the foot, then you do it with your whole body. It's very exciting, especially if you're in kindergarten. But what we can do is we can take something like that that's familiar and then break it down for them into what the concepts that underlie it. Inside that dance, we have repetition, we have loops, which are the same concept that allows a computer to do something over and over and over again. We also have the idea of saying, well, what if I repeat exactly the same thing, but with the other hand? How is that different, right? So it's about taking some of these concepts that are already a part of what the students are doing and helping them see how pattern recognition is connected. Help them see how we can break it down into a series of steps. You're lucky I'm not making you all do the Hokey Pokey to demonstrate that. We would have done that if you were in kindergarten. In a world of accelerating technological change, the most important skill that we can give our students is the ability to learn new technology. I'm not saying that everything is going to be exactly the same when they graduate as what we have today. The languages that we use to program, they change all the time. When I learned computer science, we were starting with Turbo Pascal and Pascal. Nobody uses Pascal today. After that, I learned C++. Then I learned C. Then it's JavaScript. It doesn't matter. The underlying concepts in every single one of these, the foundational computational thinking, is exactly the same across every one of these technologies. When the demonstration earlier where you saw block-based coding, where they were just dragging blocks, one of the reasons we use blocks for the young children is because the specific words do not matter. What we're teaching is the concepts, and you can learn those underneath the specific language or the specific technology. By learning computational thinking, by learning how computers think, we're preparing our students for a world that we know will change, that will accelerate. But no matter how it changes, I guarantee you that technology is going to be more and more and more a part of their world. So I was talking at the beginning that I would talk about opportunity in a time of automation and fostering equity in the digital workplace. I'm going to make one change to that slide. I don't think it's just about the digital workplace. I think it's about fostering equity in the future workplace for all of our students. Now let's talk a little bit more about equity. In America, when we look at the computing workforce, we see that about a quarter of the people employed in the computing workforce are women. We see the same challenge at the university level, where women are only a small minority of the students majoring in computer science. And we see the same problem when we look at K-12 education, that up until this point, women have been vastly underrepresented in computer science classes. But it's not just about women. We see the same challenge when we look at minorities in America. When we look at Black students or Latino students or Hispanic students. And we see the same challenge when we look at students who are coming from high-needs schools or from poor backgrounds where they have less opportunity. And at Code.org, we wanted to set out to change that. Now, there are problems across the board. There are challenges across the board. The part specifically I'm going to focus on tonight is the K-12 computer science question. Because that is the part that we are working on here today, is how do we change that? How do we help students see that this is not just a subject for rich white males? This is a subject for everybody. This is a subject that every student should be learning as part of their K-12 education. This is a workplace where I worked, and I personally felt this when I went into computer science. I remember going to my first year college course, and it was a lecture hall bigger than this, and it was almost all male. And I felt like I didn't belong, like I'd stumbled into the wrong room. Now, luckily for me, I had an advantage coming in there. My high school was one of the few schools that taught computer science back when I took it. So I had the confidence, because I knew that already, to go in there and feel like I could do it. And that helped me get to where I am today, where I majored in computer science, where I had a successful career in technology, building Xbox and HoloLens and all sorts of interesting, fascinating technology, augmented reality, Office, Windows. But for so many students, they never have that chance in the first place. When we look at the statistics, we see that women and underrepresented minorities in America are far less likely to take computer science in college if they haven't had that opportunity in high school. And that just makes sense. When you walk into a class where everybody else has already learned this, it is hard to feel like you belong. This is something we can change by giving the students the opportunity earlier. When I walk into a second grade class, I see that the girls are super excited to be learning about technology. I had little girls come up to me and say, I made a pink robot, and I'm going to make a company, and I'm going to sell pink robots everywhere, and it's going to do your hair and I don't know what else. And that's fun, and that enlightening them, giving them that opportunity when they're young. That's something we can start with every group that doesn't have that opportunity. Giving them that confidence. So our vision at Code.org is that every student in every school around the world should have the opportunity to learn computer science. We're here computing science. And they should start in elementary school. So how do we do that? 5 years ago, when we started in America, a lot of people didn't believe that they should learn it. So we began by saying, how do we break the stereotype that computing science is something that you do when you're older? Or how do we break the stereotype that it's not for me? So we began with the Hour of Code. The Hour of Code is designed to be 1 hour where you can actually try it. This has taken off around the world. We have over 500 partners, 200,000 teachers in every country in the world that have participated in doing the Hour of Code. I'm going to play a short video to give you a sense of what this is involved.
We'll use Blockly, which uses visual blocks that you drag and drop to write programs. Under the hood, you're still creating code.
This is the wrong video.
To start off, we're
we
going
want
to build
the other
code
video,
for a
the Hour of
program
Code
that will
video?
help this angry bird
This
move
is not the
through a
right
maze
video.
to get to the evil pigs that stole its eggs. Blockly is split into 3 main parts. On the left is the bird's maze, where your program will run.
I can play it from
The
here.
instructions for each
Yeah.
level are written below the
pause it?
maze. This
Okay, sorry, that was the other video. That is also an exciting video, but that is not the Hour of Code. So I'm going to play a different video for you. Give me a moment here. Let me see. Hold on. I'll just play it from my screen here. It's the hidden slide. I can. It's just, I pressed a, yeah. So while he brings that up, so the hour of code, you know, I can tell you till I'm blue in the face that computer science is going to be fun, or that it's going to be easy, or that you can do it. We see when students actually get the chance to try it, that is the best way to change their minds, to make them see that they can do it. It's the hidden slide. Yeah, so it should. Okay, let's try it. You want to see if you can play the hidden? Okay, he's going to keep working on it. We'll see if we can get it up there. It's this slide right here. You have to press escape and then unhide it, right-click and choose unhide, and then we can play it. And so what's interesting here is that when students try it, it changes their mind. And we actually saw the biggest impact with high school girls, where high school girls, when they tried computer science, when they tried doing the hour of code, they really changed their mind about whether they thought they could do it. Now, this has created an incredible amount of momentum in America, and if your school, if you're trying to get somebody interested, if you're trying to get them excited, make them feel like they can do it, it is a great way to get started. Get them to actually try it. Get your school, your principal, your teachers, your students to take it. Oh, those are my kids. We got all sorts of funness here. Why don't I, okay, did you, here. Just right here, right click, unhide the slide. Here we go, this'll work. But you guys got a cute view of my children while we were up there.
Is video?
Yeah.
Your video?
Yes, my video.
I can play the video.
But the video is the, okay, here, this is the right one. Is the volume, can we get the volume on?
Okay, now you're gonna press run. This is so cool!
Hour of Code.
The hour of code.
Todo puede ser.
Ya programme ako.
Your teacher says you guys are into it.
We are. It's very awesome.
Students around the world had an hour of code today.
It's part of a global movement to show kids what it takes to create the programs and apps they spend so much time using.
The largest education events in history.
Organizers set what they called an ambitious goal of reaching 10 million students this week. Almost 15 million signed up.
This week, I'm proud to join the students, teachers, businesses, and nonprofit organizations taking new steps to support computer science in America's schools.
You guys are already getting a head start on taking over the world.
I got it.
They've been so excited about it.
Oh my gosh, it's working! I did it right!
They don't even have to be a computer science engineer. Maybe they want to do something else. But in our world, this is going to be the basis for everything that we do.
Move. Semicolon.
Look what I did!
It's so beautiful! When you're building a program, you have to think outside of the box.
If you can change technology, you can change the world.
I challenge girls in every single country to learn 1 hour of code.
Every district should do, every district can do it.
Please help us get the hour of code to every school and every classroom and every child.
And my school's doing it.
So this phenomenon